Okay, say, actually, this is a kind of leap. Understanding is not straightforward. To find out, to understand something, you need to first understand which part you didn't understand. But to understand which part you didn't understand, you need to understand it. It's actually a very fundamental problem. There is something you understand, right? Like photon, the idea of a photon, and the interferometer here, okay? And then you can think of, you found a word of low coherence interferometer. Okay, sorry. A coherence here. Here is the interferometer. This one is a coherence. And surely you know the word of low. General word, low, right? Then low coherence interferometer. Do you understand what is low coherence interferometer? You know low, coherence, and interferometer. You know three of them. Then what is low coherence interferometer? Okay, it's a very fundamental problem. And even the professors, in my understanding, always make this mistake. They believe they understood something, but in reality, it's not. The combination of these three is not a low coherence interferometer. There is another totality like this. This one is so-called as a totality. Okay, and without totality, okay, once you understand find out the totality, you can find which part you didn't understand. Okay, and before understanding which part you didn't understand, you couldn't understand the totality. That's the jump. Okay, to understand which part you didn't understand, you cannot understand this. But to identify which part you didn't understand, you need to understand the totality. And to understand the totality, you need to understand this part. So actually, the reading, the understand something by reading something is not that straightforward. So actually, you don't need to be so worried about it. Even if you cannot do it, you don't need to so worry about it. It's quite natural. But first, you need to understand this is difficult. Okay, then you can be careful. This one is the first point, one of the general point, totality. Totality and understanding. And then next point is, say, reading and writing, or input and output. Okay, in this junior student seminar, you've been asked to read something and to explain it, right? And the read is input. And explaining is output. Okay. And as I observed what you're doing, or technically most of the students did the same mistake. Directly connect these two. Read some sentence A, and repeat the sentence A. Okay, it's just a reading out AI, a synthetic voice. So even you don't need to understand something. Okay, this one is not the way. To explain it, first, you need to make your own recognition. And maybe another knowledge like RPE and a sclera here, right? And then you can make your own understanding here. And then explain the idea of A with totally different form. Okay. These two are the very, say, fundamental and initial point. Let's come to the totality again. Like in today's example, in a case of Yuisan on the word of sclera, right? And what is sclera? Sclera is sclera, right? This is not wrong, but doesn't explain anything. Okay, this one is a step 0. And a step 1, he explained it's a kind of connective tissue, blah, blah, blah. It is written in a textbook. Okay, so this means it's just a repeat. In this case, reading and directly repeat A to A. Okay, and Yuan could Google it and explain it slightly different part. Now still it's something like this case because he just Googled it, but actually he combined A and B. B is the internet information and then combine it as A plus B. Okay, this one is a step 1. And a step 2, you can modify your own understanding and forget about them and make a new explanation from your own understanding. So then maybe this is D, like it's totally different. This is the way of the this is actually so-called as a explain your own word. This is a key, right? If you can explain in your own words or without repeating the difficult words, this means you did understand. Correct? So these two are the very conceptual point. And then I would like to go into a bit more practical points. Okay, yesterday I was thinking about how I will explain on say the methodology. Okay, I was just thinking about summarizing the methodology of reading papers, reading literatures in general, textbook and papers, or even books, or not even the internet article as well. Okay, and I just made 5 steps to read. Or to learn the reading method. Okay, now step 1, find out unknown words. And actually, today's problem is in this point. So you guys didn't correctly understand what you didn't understand. And there is technically there is a fundamental jump here, but most of the students and most of the professors didn't think there is a fundamental problem. They believe it's very straightforward, but in reality, it's not. That's the biggest difficulty to understand something. Okay, this one is step 2, and I'm going to digging into this point today. Okay, and then step 2, I'm going to talk about it later. But step 2 of reading is say carefully reading the paper or the classifying the paper or the part of the paper based on its importance. Okay, and we call it colorize. Classify, highlight. Highlight the key points. Highlight the key points in the context. Okay, this one is a step 2, and maybe I'm going to explain it in the next time. And step 3 is sorry, there's 5 steps. Sorry, and let me master space. Step 3, the step 3 is to understand the generalized structure of the papers. On a treatise or say on scholarly articles or say papers in general has its own very generalized structure, and each part of the paper structure has its own has its own role, and we need to understand it before reading the paper. Okay, and I'm going to talk about this step 3, and again maybe next time or the say the lecture, next lecture after the next lecture. Okay, lecture after the next lecture. Sorry. And step 4. Step 4 is reading in details. Read. Okay, this is something maybe the students can, this is the part student will think on only the part of the point of reading, carefully reading it, and understand each sentence. Okay, but this is only 20% of the reading, in my understanding. And I will going to give you some, say, methodology or technique to read to carefully read the details of the paper. Okay, this one is a step 4. And here I'm also going to talk about how you can understand each individual part of the paper, and also the entire message of the paper. Mostly it's a kind of abstraction. But anyway, I'm going to talk about the details later, okay? And a final step, step 5, is critically read the paper. Now, critically read means examine each individual part of the paper. Okay, and then add some constructive comments. Okay, this is nearly the same with exceeding contents of the paper. So this means it's a very constructive action. And this is actually the research itself. So read the paper and give a new idea on it, add a new idea on it. So this means it's your own research already. Okay, this is the step 5. So that the reason why I believe that reading papers correctly is exactly on the research itself, academic research itself. Okay, and once you can do it, actually, once you can do this step 5, it might be easy to write your own paper. Add something on a published publication, already published publication, is actually nearly the same as writing a new paper. Okay, if you when you write a paper, new paper, journal paper, you are going to you need to properly cite the previous publications, right? References. So this means any scholarly articles you are going to write is a critical reading of the previous papers. It should based on the previous publications. Okay, so all of the stress point of your paper or claims should be supported by the publications, previous publications or data. So this means writing a paper is add something on the other one's previous publication. And the first step of this is the last step of reading, step 5. And step 5 will bring you to write the paper, not to read the paper. Okay? And then going back to this point, the reading is here, right? And the writing is here. So now we have the bridge to read and write. Okay, and here you need something you process, actually, it's another keyword, process. Okay, now you have reading. Now this is something I'm going to explain for upcoming few lectures. Okay, and then once you coming to this step 5, maybe you can at the entrance of this output writing the paper. But to write it, you need to process multiple papers information and also your experimental result. You do your own research, making some system or taking a data and process it, and then adding it here. It's your own recognition. So your own recognition is going to be built by other one's publication in addition to your own research result, and then process them all to explain to the others. It's a journal paper, your publication. Okay, and then once you publish it, this publication is going to be utilized by the others, right? The others will read it and process it, adding something, and write a new publication. And then this new publication is going to be read by you or your colleagues, and then add something and publish the paper again. This is a cycle. Okay, this is a research cycle. So the publication is a very important and inevitable path of the research cycle. Okay, no research can be no publication, no research. Okay. Okay, then today I just want to talk about only a very practical point of step 1, and that is something surely missing at this moment to you. And this one, step 1, is a very, very practical lecture. Okay. Okay, it's a kind of methodology. On first, how do you read a paper? Physically, do you guys read the paper in a printed out paper form or PDF or tablet? Which one are you using?
I'm using tablet.
Okay, and how about the other? Tablet.
Yes, tablet.
I'm totally use the PDF on the computer.
Okay.
PDF too.
Now on a computer screen.
Yes.
Okay. And Ichan?
Yes, I'm already stated. I also read the papers by the PDF on the computer screen. Thanks.
So then, when you read the papers in a computer screen, how did you do it? Just display it and scroll it and say, when you find out something unknown English word, how do you do it? Check the dictionary.
I totally highlight some keywords, and also if I don't know the words, maybe I will stretch for the vocabularies online to understandings what is the mean.
Okay, that is something I would like to remind you. Did I explain it once to you? Okay, so then, but before this, what I want to remind is if you are beginner of reading papers, I strongly recommend to print it once. Okay, and once you're accustomed to it, maybe you can use tablet. But I actually don't recommend to read the paper on a computer screen. It's a combination of action and passive action and active action. Okay, so when you understand something is a very, say, active, how we can say, it's an active process. The reading is a passive process, right? So we need a combination. So when you use only the computer screen, and the most important point is we cannot write on a computer screen. Okay, so maybe you can put the comments or something in a PDF, but in my understanding, the degree of freedom of this is not sufficient. So in any way, first you can make yourself free. And the most free way of reading is using the paper, the printed out paper. And once you establish your own method, you can bring it into your tablet or even PDF. But in anyway, I don't recommend to read the papers on a PDF on a computer screen. Okay. Then hold on. Can it work? Share screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
It's my
Yes.
case. I don't have a good example, but this one is something like our recent publication, but even the draft. But anyway, just an example. Once you have this, okay, something you need to read the textbook, you need a several, say, basic equipment. Something you surely need is the ruler. Okay, so when you read something, put the ruler and read it line by line, like this, right? Then you can control your attention. So if you concentrate on a context, you don't need to spend your brain power to find out where you are reading. Okay, it's a very simple method, but it's quite ease your understanding of the content. So you can concentrate on the content. So otherwise, actually, in my experience, in my own experience, this dramatically enhance the concentration of the content. And actually, you spend not a small amount of your brain power to just find out where you are reading. And then maybe you found some unknown English word, right? And then check the dictionary. And then next time, you started to find out where you have been reading. Okay, and it takes additional seconds, but it surely disturbs the coherence of your thought. Okay, so that using the ruler makes a dramatically understanding of the content easy. So maybe if the text or paper is easy, or it's just like a novel, you don't need to do this. But if as the content of the text or book becomes harder and harder, this method worked dramatically. Like when I'm reading the books of philosophy, I surely need this ruler. So otherwise I cannot read. Okay, this one is the first point, the ruler. Okay. Then the next point, how can I do it? Okay, maybe this one. Okay, the first point is the ruler, right? And then the next one is when you read something, first, you can list up some words you didn't know. Okay, separate the English word issue and the content issue. You can try both at the same time. The first, clean up all of the simple English issues and then concentrate on the content. Okay, so if you know almost all of the words in a text, maybe you can first check that several pages, but if there are multiple words you didn't know, maybe you can tackle with say paragraph by paragraph or a few paragraphs package by few paragraph package, right? Like here, maybe it's a little bit hard to see, but here the DCNN-based estimators were validated experimentally by measuring scattering phantoms. It's the first line. Okay, and surely I know all of the word because this is one of my paper. But if assume I'm just a student, maybe estimator. So do you know the word of estimator? Maybe some of you know the estimation, right? But what is the estimator? Okay, it's another trick. Anyway, the first line by line estimator. I don't know this. Phantoms. Okay. And then the intralipid emulsion. intralipid emulsion. In the field of biomedical optics, to a 20% intralipid emulsion, IL-20, I141 sigma Aldrich, this is maybe the name of company, is frequently used as an optical phantom. Optical phantom, it's a combination of the word. We've already checked the phantom, but what is the optical phantom? Okay, to mimic the optical properties of tissue. 6 different dilutions, what is this? Were made by mixing the IL-20 with purified water, purified water, okay, to obtain concentrations of 1%, 2%, 4%, 6%, 8%, and 10%. Each dilution was then placed in a petri dish, and a black mending tape. Mending tape. What it is was attached at the bottom of the petri dish to avoid strong specular reflection. Maybe specular, what it is, or specular reflection, what it is. From the glass surface, these samples were made for each concentration. Maybe some of you don't know the concentration, right? Namely, 18 samples were made in total. Okay, it's only, say, 8-line paragraph, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 candidates of unknown words. Okay, if you have 12 unknown words in a single paragraph, it's nearly not possible to understand anything. Okay, so you need to kick off them first, and then how you can do it. Okay, and the flashcards. Okay, maybe you already I think you have some experience to use it already. Have you? But how did you use it? Did you use with this ring or removing it? That is the first mistake most of the students are doing. To use the flashcard, first, you need to take it off. Right? And then going back to this point. First, an estimator. Okay. Is the first point when you check the word, you need to check the function of the word, okay, and check the dictionary. Estimate is here, right? And then estimator. Okay. And this is actually noun. Okay. The English has several, how we can say, hold on. Word class. The English word has multiple classes. Okay, this is very important. And is noun. Okay, here. Okay. And then the first, pencil it. So you can draw the circle to highlight the unknown English word. And once you remember it, get it, you can remove it, erase it later. But anyway, you can pencil it first. And then check dictionary. And then surely check the classes. What class? N is noun, right? I'm not sure about the Chinese name of this. It's a noun. And adjective. Okay. And adverb. Is the adjective is to modify the noun, and the adverb is to modify the verb or adjective or even adverb itself, right? And a verb has two types, T and I. T requires objective, right? Okay, you need to clearly aware each word is for what, the each word class. Okay, and then estimate, right here. It's a noun. Estimate is a verb. Even T verb, estimate something. Or actually the estimate itself is also used as a noun. So when it was used as noun, it means the value estimated value. Okay, estimate something. If you say that estimate the value, this estimate is a verb, T verb. But we got the estimate means it's a value, it's noun. Okay, so you need to clearly aware about the classes, the word classes. And the estimator is surely noun. And then another point I aware is you also need to say clarify the pronunciation. Estimator. Estimator. Right? It's a pronunciation. So you don't need to really write the pronunciation symbols here, but you need to carefully know the accent. When you use estimator, it's here, right? The first accent, estimator. Estimator. Okay, and if you found a new word, you need to repeat 10 times. Estimator, 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 estimator. So once you do it, your tongue muscle remember the pronunciation. Okay, the lack of this, I found the lack of this like a sclera today. The sclera is a little bit hard to pronounce because it has the L sound and R sound continuously, sclera. But once you pronounce it 10 times for the first time, you can pronounce it, okay? And another point, okay, any language has its own sound, but some language doesn't have letters. Okay, all of the language has the sound, but no language. All of the language has its sound, but some language doesn't have letters. Some primitive languages. Like we had a postdoc on Deepa Kasaragot, and she was from India. And in India, there are a lot of languages, official and unofficial. And I've asked Deepa, what is your mother tongue, the real native language? And she said something, and some language I didn't know. And how do you write it? And she said, we don't have the letters for this. It's just only the sound. Okay, so another example to think about it is when you learn your mother tongue, Chinese or Japanese, did you first learn the sound or the letters? The sound, right? So this means the primitive of language is the sound. And the reading and the writing is a higher activity. So without, if you cannot speak, or if you cannot hear, you cannot write or you cannot read in principle. So if you believe you can read something or you can write something without speaking or listening, it's just illusion. You believe it, but if some natives or someone who can really can read or write or speak, listen what you're discussing, it's just like nothing. Okay, the language can be first be spoken or be heard, then reading and writing. So you need to think. You need to think that the pronunciation is more important than you've been thinking. Okay, so don't forget about the pronunciation. So anyway, also in practice, sooner or later you are going to give a talk in a conference. Okay, the conference talk should be in a sound. And without correct pronunciation, nobody can understand what you're talking. Okay, then the flashcard. Let's go back to the flashcard. The estimator, right? By the way, okay, new one. Cheap estimator. Noun estimator. And the accent is here. Okay, estimator. And then the other side, in my case, it's Japanese. Estimator. Noun. Okay, and also when you write it in Chinese, I recommend to put the word class here, especially Chinese speakers, and also Japanese. Actually, also in Japan, we also use the Chinese character. And in my understanding, the Chinese language is quite functional. The content and the word function are quite well separated, right? So this means the single word can sometimes behave like verb, but are also noun and even adjective or adverb. Okay, so but now we are thinking about a correspondence with your own language and English. So even for your Chinese side or Japanese side, it's worth to put the class, word class. Okay, then now we have one. Let's make a little bit more. Phantom. Okay, phantom. It's a mimicky pseudo sample. Pseudo sample, right? It's a phantom. And then, like emulsion. not the Japanese. Emulsion. Okay. Okay. And then you can make a lot of them. Now, once you have it, you check it and I found it. And if you know it, and then classify all of the card into 3 categories. See it, and if you can find, it's quite easy for you into easy, right? And if you cannot, the answer to this, hard. And if you need to take time to think about it, it's something in between. Okay, and this one is easy. Remove it, and then correct them, and shuffle it, and do it again. Okay, by repeating it several times, all of the card becomes easy. Now, once you did it, now you are ready to read this sentence, or paragraph, sorry. Okay, and if you have like a 5, 10 unknown words in a paragraph, it's better to do it before start reading the paper. Okay, and if only 1, 2 words in a paper, in a page, unknown, and if there are only 1, 2 unknown words in a page, maybe you don't need to do this beforehand, but once you found the unknown words, pencil it, and check the dictionary and create a new cards, okay? And then you can put it into the card deck, and maybe every day you can double check it. Okay. By the way, when you make this, so I just use this side, but at the same time you randomly flip it, and also use this Japanese or Chinese side. It's a kind of the English to Japanese, or English to Chinese, or Chinese to English. Okay, you need a both bridge. The single direction bridge cannot work for the other side. You need a both. You need to make a bridge in your brain for both sides. Okay. Okay. Then a little bit more. Like I'm not that much advertising yet, but say actually I'm using the electric flashcard in reality. It's even easier to me and more effective. Like it's a bit expensive. Hold on. I'm using this Anki mobile, and this one is a paid app, but a Windows version is free. Okay, you can Google it, or you can Baidu 一下. Okay, Anki, and a Windows version and the Android version is free. Okay, and this one is an electric flashcard. This is mine. Also, I have a Chinese deck, but also like this one is a main flashcard. Okay, this one is a Japanese side, and it's trend line actually. Okay, hold on. This one is the original or no? This one is another deck. This one. Okay. The lethally is an English side, and tap on it, and it's a Japanese side. And I know this word, so just green. I know. Okay, and a trend line. I know this. And tap it. A trend line. I know this, and a green. And a clamp, I know. And a brain ventricle, I know. And a rectification, maybe it's a rectification, I guess. Rectification, but I took some time to get reminded. So maybe this is the moderate orange. Okay, and a scoreboard, I know this. And then this one, the green, maybe it's a little bit hard to see. But this one, they said, is at 29 days. Okay, so this means once I tap this green, the same card will appear after 29 days. And this is pretty much, is it working? Okay. And this is pretty much depend on the flashcard. Chaplain, maybe I forgot about it. It's a bit slow, sorry. So in this example, I didn't know this word. Touch it. And this one, I didn't know this word. And then the red is 10M. It's a 10 minutes. So if I push it, the card will appear after 10 minutes. And once you accumulate the correct answer, the interval becomes longer and longer, sometimes years. Okay, so they will use something like a super memory algorithm or something. And that was published a few years ago. And I use it to find out the correct interval for the representation of the cards. And actually, this electric flashcard is quite useful. And even like I have another deck, scientific. It's not for English, but I found the technical terms I didn't know, especially like the medicine or the biological sentences or the conceptions I didn't know. I make my own flashcards and then double check frequently. Okay, like a name of the chemicals or something like the type of the gene or cell lines. I'm using it to remember it. Okay. Okay, then the flashcard, I did it. Hold on, let me check today's content. The flashcard, read it loud, and on shuffle with the 3 categories, and electric flashcard, and find out some unknown words. Okay, then semi-final point. Now you can find out the English word you didn't know. But actually, there are several tricks. Some words looks like you already know it, but in reality, you didn't know. Some words in a paper were utilized not at the use of, not at the standard use, as it's standard use, right? The very simple words are used differently. You need to smell it. That actually the jump I've explained. Okay, so to find it, you need to understand the totality first. But without knowing the word, you couldn't understand the totality. So it's actually the kind of the gradual step. Maybe you can read the paragraph once, and then by reading it, you can further find the words you didn't understand or concept you didn't understand. And you can pencil it and check it. And sometimes it's just an English issue, but sometimes it's not, rather fundamental on, say, scientific issue. So in this case, checking the dictionary or other books or the internet can help. Okay, but anyway, to understand something, first, you need to find out something you didn't understand. That's the first step. Okay, so today's point, is find out something you didn't understand. Okay? And then I have a homework for step 1. Okay. I would like to find any paper you want, but find one paper and carefully read the introduction. Okay. For example, maybe if you guys have no idea, say, hold on. Call frequency domain measure Anki. 2005, 2003, so old days. Yep. This one is one of the historic paper, high-speed optical frequency domain imaging. This one, you can Google it. DOI 10.136/OE.11.002953. Maybe you can take a memo of this and then simply Google it. It's on Optics Express, open access. Okay, it's open access. So you can download a PDF. Okay, then introduction. It is. Hold on. This one, right? And then, this one is my iPad. So I cannot use a ruler, but alternatively, I actually can use another trick like this. Okay. Put it here. So in a case of iPad, I'm using this color marker, cross-sectional. Maybe English word, numerous. By the way, it's a little bit advanced course. What the difference between the biology and medicine? So you surely missed it. So normally, you didn't aware about it even. Biology, I know biology, and medicine, I know medicine. So then, if you were asked what the difference between these two, can you explain it or not? Okay, this is something like a trick. If you cannot explain to the others with your own word, this means you didn't understand. one-dimensional depth range. So I can do low coherence interferometry. Low coherence interferometry. And body net. Okay, so like this, you can pick up the words you don't know and make a flashcard and can read it. So my homework today is, say, read the introduction of this paper. It's only half a page. But first, check any words you didn't understand. And then maybe you are going to surprise so many words you don't know. Okay? And aware that many words behave like being known. Maybe you have shown it once. But in reality, just in this case, ask to yourself whether you can explain the meaning of this word to the others. And if it's not, you didn't understand it. Worth to check it. Got it? So this one is a homework for the step 1. And maybe for the next time, I'm going to explain about step 2. Okay? And actually, this lesson has 5 steps. And the 5th step is critically and constructively reading the paper. It's quite close to write, not read, not only read. Okay? So the reading is the process of thinking. And finally, it reaches to writing. It's a very active process. Got it? So that's it for today's lecture. And by the way, for the next time, no, that's okay. Okay. By the way, if you are working with a paper, the printed out, I still recommend to use the pencil, not the marker, because you can remove it later, like this. The network is a bit slow. Like this, okay? Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
So today's seminar is that's all. So let's close today's meeting.